The March 2021 monthly meeting of the HHA. It is March 10th. It is 6:03. And as per usual, we'll do a quick roll call. Commissioner Bala here. Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Wolf.
Here.
Commissioner Cousin.
Here.
Commissioner Bohr.
Here.
Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Brown. Okay. And Mike Bruno, are you here today? Okay. All right. So as per usual, we're going to go through the first couple of items. First one is to approve meeting minutes from the February 10th, 2021 meeting. Pardon me, regular meeting. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at that? And does anyone have any questions or comments?
I do.
Okay.
So my only ask, I guess, is are we as a board accepting chat comments as part of the record? I guess we should decide that because there were comments in the chat for public comment, but they're not in the record in our minutes. Tom?
I think Victoria, I think, was actually incorrect because the city attorney insists that chat comments should be part of the record. They are part of the recording. So that should be decided.
I think what we were going to do, Shaheem, is it possible to go back and pull those chat comments from, I know that it's not available to everyone, but is it available to you? Yeah. Okay, so I mean, but not necessarily the chat comments that came along with them. Okay, so for, yeah.
Screenshot them last time, and then we can have a protocol where, you know, we can, I guess, have them.
So can we park this? So let's park this and talk about this when we get to the discussion on the public comment, so that we can talk about how we're gonna, Tom.
That's also the reason I disabled the chat for city meetings, because it's too complex to be going back and forth in terms of being able to record it all. If
Yeah.
person wants to talk, it's really better that they talk rather than chat.
Right. So I think when we're doing official public comments,
But
you
just
have
think
to,
about the hearing impaired. Maybe they're unable to talk and they're only able to chat. So just keep that in mind.
that is true. And some people might feel more comfortable doing the chat than actually talking. So there's that too. So I think
Maybe Linda can help out at before the meeting is over, and take pictures of the chat and then she can add it in or something.
Is there a feature where like you can just click save chat, like at the
Oh, good.
that makes sense. Okay, so I guess what we should do with the ones that we've already gotten, we've got them saved. We have to save them from here on in, but I do think that Linda would be probably good for us to make them more official.
all right.
All right, any other comments regarding the meeting minutes from last month? Which I actually do have a comment. I read, when I was reading through it, I realized that we had said that we were gonna have a meeting in the middle of, towards the end of February to discuss the 5-year plan, and we never did that. So that's just something we should keep in mind while we're talking about the 5-year plan, which is on the agenda, that we need to actually do that. We should schedule a meeting and we can decide
Neither.
whether it's an addition to our weekly meetings or whether it's going to end up replacing a weekly meeting. I don't know. That's something to discuss later. But I just wanted to point out that we had said that we were going to do that and we didn't. So we're going to have to talk about that, doing that later. So anyone else have any comments?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I just have a comment on the grant writer position. I know I read through and we had spoke about it, but we didn't do a motion or set anything to get that going. So I would just like us to be able to start rolling on getting us a grant writer. So do we have to make a motion for that? Or?
So I guess the big question for that is, do we have a budget or a place where we can go to, I guess what we could do is we could make a motion that we all want to have a grant writer and that we can begin the process of exploring what our options are in terms of our budgets and so on. We could do that motion, I think. Thoughts?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good to me too.
I mean, yeah.
Tim,
Only question I
Tim,
have-
what do you think? And what kind of motion can we make that as a board, we make a motion that Rebecca?
Well,
Wolf?
the question I have is just, should we further define, like, what do we mean when we say we want a grant writer? I mean, I think we all agreed that it was a part-time grant writer, like, it's not a person that's on staff, so we don't
Yep.
need the, the civil service or any of that. But maybe just define, like, how that role is going to work. Like, is it going to be on a commission, or not a commission basis, but rather, I mean, like a grant by grant, like when we identify a grant we want to apply for, we hire a grant writer? Or is it that there's somebody?
Wouldn't you figure that out after you find out if there's even a
Yeah.
budget to do that?
That's what I'm thinking.
Right.
I think if we
I would do the
approve,
resolution.
exactly.
Yeah, just
We-
do the resolution with the intent to hire a grant writer, and then we can figure out the details after.
All right.
I mean, we can all sort of talk as a board over the next month, see where the budget would come from, how much flexibility we have. And then next month we can meet, and even before that, we can update each other over the next few weeks during our weekly meetings. But I think, yeah, if we make a motion to do this, then that sets the ball rolling. Yeah?
Right.
All right, so somebody want to make a motion? Some words? What do you want, Ravonda?
I will make a motion for us to pursue getting a grant writer by looking through our budgets and making sure we can do this and afford this in the best kind of way.
A second.
Okay, you got that, Tim?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. So we're gonna spend the next month figuring that out. Okay, any other comments regarding last month's meeting minutes? Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as amended with the comments.
Yep. May I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Okay, excellent, thank you. All right, the next item is to approve accounts payable for February 2021. Presuming everyone's had a chance to take a look at those documents, and if so, assuming they have, rather, are there any questions or comments that they would like to make before moving on to approval? Okay, yes.
I just want to ask quickly about like we got a lot of stuff from Lowe's. It's like plumbing supplies, hooks, hinges, knobs, countertops, stuff like that. And it was like $2,500 basically. So I just wanted to make sure, like, just specifically, was that going towards these 6 apartments that we're getting back online? Okay, I
Tim,
just wanted to make sure we had the.
Tim, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. She should have broke that out. I wish she had. I can give that breakout to you, Rebecca, so you have the detail on it, but that's exactly what it's for.
Okay, great. You know I love the detail.
I know, sorry.
Any other comments? Going once, going twice. All right, can I have a motion to accept the accounts?
I make a motion.
Thank you, Claire. Can I have a second, please?
I will second.
Thank you, Ravonda. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. All right, motion passes. Okay, next item on the agenda. So we are about to have change our various hats here at the HHA. I have decided to step down as chairman, and I will be staying on the board, and I'm going to be devoting all of my time to the development. It's just a lot to do both. And so I haven't officially submitted a letter of resignation. Was I supposed to do that, Tim? I can do that after the fact, right?
You can at some point, just so it's documented.
Okay, so I'll send that to you before I go to bed tonight.
Okay.
I'll send you, I completely forgot to
Okay.
write it. I'm thinking that now. So
You could just send it in an email.
I'll send it in an email. Okay, I'll send that in an email after the meeting. And so because I'm stepping down from as chairman, obviously we're going to have a nomination, and we're also going to have an election. So is there anyone who has a question about that? I know I've spoken to all the board members, so there are no surprises here. Okay, excellent. So can I go straight to nomination now, Tim? Or do we have to vote to accept my resignation?
Well, I think we should officially do that. And then second, what we would want to do is we would need a motion and a second and take a vote for each nomination.
Got it.
And then vote as a board on the nomination.
Do you want to take over this process then? How about you take over this? No.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. I'm thinking it's just easier since I'm not going to be chairman in 5 minutes until we get to just for the officer election part.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to stop talking now. I was going to say, I'll make a motion.
So I would just need a motion and a second from someone from the board to accept Marie Balley's resignation as chairperson for the board And then we just do a, all in favor.
I'll make a motion to accept, I'll make that motion.
Okay,
I'll second it.
Rebecca. So there's a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 Everyone, okay. So the motion passes. We accept the resignation, Marie. So then the next step would be is I would need a motion and a second for any nominations for the officer position of chair.
So I would like to make a nomination to nominate Commissioner Smith, please.
A second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second, and the motion was made by Marie Bally. It was seconded by Claire Cousins. Can I get a vote on all in favor of that motion and second for Commissioner Smith nomination for chair?
Aye.
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 Okay, so the motion approves. Are there any other nominations from the board for the position of chair?
Hello?
Robert.
Are you here, Robert?
Yes, I'm here. I have a question before we go any further. When Randall stepped down, did we have to meet in person to do this voting, or we don't have to do that any longer?
I think at the time that was the preference of the board, but it doesn't, there's no regulation that says that we have to. If everyone is
Okay.
comfortable voting like this,
Yes.
then we can proceed accordingly.
Can
Okay,
I
just a
explain the
question.
difference? There is actually difference because in the first, for that election, we had 2 nominations. So we had a lot more pieces of paper to pass around, I believe. That's the only reason. Since we only have one nomination for tonight, we didn't need to meet in person. So are we can we vote?
There's a.
Yes, I believe there,
Have we made a
there was
motion? Yes, we have.
I don't know if it's the old one, the old hand.
I think we can just vote now, right?
yes, I just need I need a motion and a second for the nomination of Commissioner Smith for the officer position of chair.
We did that and Claire seconded it.
Okay.
I made the motion. Yep.
Okay,
And Claire
so all in
provided the
favor of,
second.
all in favor of that, all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the motion passes. Congratulations, Ravon, or
Congratulations.
chairperson.
Thank you.
So now then we have to fill the position of vice chair.
Yes.
I'll make
So-
a motion to nominate Claire Cousin for the position of vice chair.
Okay, I need a second to that motion.
I will second.
Okay, all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
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 Okay. Okay. Are there any other nominations for the officer position of vice chair? If not, then I need a motion and a second to approve
Oh, I see.
Commissioner Cousins as the vice chair of the board.
I make a motion.
Oh, you, and then I'll second it.
There we go.
Okay. There's a motion and a second to elect Commissioner Cousins as vice chair. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
So be it. Approved. Congratulations. And so, so we have a chairperson, a vice chairperson, and a treasurer. Those are the positions of the officers as elected by the board.
We haven't discussed this, but I'm fully excited to potentially resign as treasurer. If
Okay.
there's a person who is possibly desiring to be nominated to be treasurer. So I'm just gonna,
Tattoo it on your arm.
yeah, I resign. Does everybody accept my resignation?
No.
Well, of course, if you do not want to stay as treasurer,
I mean, honestly,
we have to accept your resignation.
well, you know, and we didn't there's been no you know, I'm also happy to stay on for another month and discuss it further. So like whatever, I don't know. This is
Tattoo it on.
I just need a sign.
It's up to you, Rebecca, what you would like to do.
Hold on a minute, please.
You just said she'll stay on another month, so you guys should keep going.
Oh, okay. um, okay, so we'll revisit this in a month.
Okay. Okay, then I think we're all set with our officers. Ravonda, the chair is yours.
Okay. Hello, everybody.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm just gonna keep it going. We're gonna move right on to the next agenda, which is HUD's 5-year plan requirement. I'm guessing this now goes to Tim, but I know I do have some questions on it. But Tim, I will give you the floor.
Thank
Rebecca,
you.
have your hand up. I'm sorry.
So every 5,
I did just want to ask, because at our last meeting, we did say that we would have like a policy meeting to go over this. And I think we do need to go through this and figure out, you know, what is our 5-year plan kind of collectively as a board. And so I would like to say, can we even make a motion to ensure that this meeting does happen, where we actually have a policy meeting in, you know, 2 weeks or over the course of this next month? Is there I guess my other question attached to that is there a time limit? Are we like, you know, do we have this 5-year plan? We need to get it in. Is there a date?
we have to the end of May.
Okay. So do we want to do that as a board? Do we want to like schedule a policy meeting to go over our 5-year plan?
Absolutely.
I'd say so.
So do we make a motion on that? Okay.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the
We
calendar
can either
right
make
now.
a motion or we can either make a motion or just set a date.
Right. I was thinking maybe just set a date, but
Yeah.
making a motion is fine with me as well.
Do we want to set the date for our meeting on the 24th at 6 p.m.? So it's 2 weeks from now.
That sounds good.
So March 24th will be our policy meeting, 6 p.m.
Yes.
Yay.
So are you saying that we're having a policy meeting to go over all the policy prior to setting up the 5-year plan, or that they're happening simultaneously?
Well, it'd be great to see how much we can cover. I think it'd be, you know, let's start with the 5-year plan and then let's see where we get to. But I think mainly just focusing on the 5-year plan for now and seeing where we get to from there. Because we do have, you know, a need for, you know, taking an inspection into the policy. You know, there's a lot of different elements that we can get into, leases, board policy, you know, there's a lot. So it'd be great to start that process.
Cool. There is a hand up that's been up for a really long time. I don't know if it's like anybody's real hand. 347.
I thought that was Robert.
That's Robert.
Oh, okay. So maybe that's an old hand up.
Robert, did you have a question? Oh yeah, perfect.
No, that was earlier. I was trying to get your attention. That's all. I already answered that question.
Thank you.
Okay, so are we good to move on and just continue on with the 5-year plan in 2 weeks? Is that what we want to do? Everyone?
Yes.
Is that okay? Okay.
Feel good about that. Yeah.
So we will actually be jumping a little backwards because I skipped Linda Mussman mural offer to HHA from artist Sam Meyerson.
Can we talk about that a little bit? Rebecca, you want to go first?
Yeah, I actually spoke with Linda today. And I basically just made her aware. I was like, you know, we are in the process of figuring out our future here at the Housing Authority, you know, and if that wall ceases to exist, let's say at some point, it would be sad to have a mural on it and then have it, you know, be gone. So it seemed to make sense that this was not specifically the right time to be commissioning a mural. And I had spoken to a bunch of other board members about it, and it seemed like that was kind of the consensus, like it wasn't the right time. But I definitely was like, you know, in the future, it would be really amazing to have a mural, and also mention some of the artists that I know that live in housing authority, HHA housing, that might also be interested in being a part of that.
Yeah, I think also if is the artist volunteering? Like, was he volunteering or was it like funded through TSO? It was funded through TSO. Okay. Yeah, it'd be interesting to have those artists that live in the housing authority supported by TSO instead, maybe.
Yeah, and I thought with our survey too, there was a question where, you know, people could say whether or not they want a mural and suggest artists too, which kind of was informed based on that request made by Linda. So that's another cool thing that hopefully we'll have that information too.
Okay.
Do you want to table that item?
I think it might be off the table.
Just take it off completely?
Yeah, I spoke with Linda and she said, you know, it's off the table.
Okay.
I was hoping in the future, you know, but now it didn't seem like the right time.
Okay.
Okay, so now we are moving on to item number 6, which is an update on the Tenants Relations Subcommittee. I feel like it kicked off so nice, and I'm excited about this update that everyone will be getting. And I'm guessing that would be presented by Claire.
Yeah.
We usually have names, but it's not names tonight. I'm not sure why.
All right, so we've been working on the survey because we're trying to figure out, I mean, I don't want to schedule the meetings until we have the survey. My reasoning behind that is we have 3 large tasks to ask of our tenants. We want to give them information in person about what's happening with the development. We also want to have them work on a survey with us, and we still have not distributed the COVID cleaning supplies, which we just finished purchasing. So those are 3 things that take a lot of capacity on our end, and making sure that tenants have time. Like, I don't want to hand a bag full of cleaning supplies to somebody and then redirect them to come sit at a table for an hour or 15 minutes or however long it ends up taking, that's just a lot to try to figure out. So I wanted to talk with you guys and see how you think this should play out. With that, the survey is not completed yet. We just need a little bit more time to work on it. Tiff can talk about it in a minute. And I mean, we're just trying to gauge the right language to accomplish the goal. So that's, I mean, that's really where we're at. And I'm also trying to, I've been talking with other board members at HCHC about the best way to get tenants to show up to our in-person face-to-face meetings. Because again, it's like, it's a taboo conversation. No matter how beautiful the flyer is, it's a difficult conversation, and there's lots of misinformation out there already. So, I mean, we're trying to get the information out there quickly, but at the same time, like, we know we're pacing ourselves because we have to get it right. We can't just put something out there into the world and then play cleanup. We have to do it the right way. So I've been doing a lot of like damage control conversations on Facebook, like helping people understand where we're really at, because at the same time as this project, you know, Front Street Park is getting worked on. So it's a scary time for people that have been here for a long time, because if they're not in the meetings that are happening in the city, they're not necessarily abreast to what's really going on, and that this is all a part of a process that's been taking place for a long time. So we're kind of out here playing damage control and trying to comfort people and reassure them and get them to show up for us. So that's my update.
Is there anything that you think like that we haven't thought of and when I say we, I just mean like this board or like, you know, there's a lot of different things happening in the city right now where it's like it would be great to get more input. Like I'm thinking, for example, of the shared streets survey going around, and like, you know, I've been like I went to the meeting of the shared streets thing, and you know, they're like I don't think there was anybody who's like a longtime resident of Hudson who was at that meeting. So
I mean,
and like and so they've distributed these surveys, and basically it's like, so it's this weird, I guess what I'm really asking is like, how can we get people's voices heard?
That's the connection. That's the connection that we're trying to make with HCHC, because when you look at the board of HCHC, I mean, it's basically me working double time, Tiff, who is the older person in the second ward who knows the people, Quentin, who's been here forever. Like, we're the folks that are already on the ground talking. We're just attached to this organization. So, I mean, I really think that we're the best vehicle, and I think that it's not a fast process. It's like we're really trying to get people to be comfortable with what's even happening. So it's not like making sure they have access, like we do that. It's literally just making sure that we can find a way to make it seem worth people's time to show up. So, I mean, and if more people want to be involved in that process to get your face known, and so that you become somebody that can also, like, you feel comfortable that you have pull with tenants, I mean, that I always recommend that. That's why I asked who else wants to be involved in the tenant relations, because any idea I'm open to, but when it comes to like actually hearing the tenants' concerns, there is no other way that we've been effective than knocking on people's doors and being outside after office hours and having regular conversations with people. Like, most of the conversations that I've had where I get concerns expressed to me are like, I'm in the grocery store or I'm outside playing with my kids and somebody just happens to know what I do. So, I mean, it's really just being on the ground and with your constituents.
So
Absolutely. If I can add to that, if it's all right with the board,
Mhm.
I'm not going to take too much of your time because Claire pretty much said it. We have a connection with the community. I have a connection with my constituents. The main thing with this survey is making sure that the people feel confident that they're not wasting their time doing this survey, that this survey is actually to benefit them. That's why, it's very important to us as an organization, because we want the people rely on us, and we want to ensure that what we're doing is not just for data purposes, it's for an actual outcome. Also, with this survey, we want the people to understand that this is not a project that is going to take them away from their homes, take them away from their safety net. We want them to understand that this project is all about them and their families. Um, you know, there's some people have lived in Bliss Towers for many years, and we want that same comfort to continue for other residents and new residents, um, with better living environments and situations in their apartments and buildings, as you all are continuing to work on. There's such things that were added to the survey. For example, how can the board, how can you all, how can the Housing Authority improve the laundry rooms? How can they have better access to the first floor bathrooms to eliminate accidents? About opening all exit doors for safety, particularly on the ground floors, by both laundry rooms. Even talking about, the making the kitchen area better for the residents. I mean, maybe better appliances, maybe opening up, giving it more space. There's a lot of use from the kitchen that the residents have used, and as well as different organizations for the residents for many years. So, we want the survey filled out by the residents so we can get a better understanding for their needs. We want feedback. Um, we're telling the residents that big changes are happening right here at the Housing Authority, but none of it can happen without you. The entire construction of Bliss Towers will happen with your feedback on construction, opportunities, services, and more. So that's just, a little sample of what we've been doing thus far, working on the surveys. And we have some professionals involved that can guide us along the way. So we're just waiting to hear some feedback from them as well. So we just need, I would say, maybe a few more days, maybe like a week, and we should have it completed. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Tiff. I I saw some of what we're doing with the survey, and I think that there's two different conversations happening at the same time. If I don't remember exactly what the first conversation was with whoever reached out first about the survey. I remember in the meeting we said that we wanted it to be um, more specifically geared towards the project, and then the other, after we get that data and that information, and we have a deeper conversation and we do the one-on-ones with people, then seeing like what amenities and like how we could better the process like the laundry room and the locked doors and things like that in the follow-up. I don't know how you feel about that.
Absolutely, because one part would be, I was just giving little
Yeah.
sets of parts of the survey, not the entire survey. So in the beginning of the survey, it talks about the construction, additional housing, such as additional housing or either more of the type of low rise housing or townhouses, things of that nature, just to get more feedback from the tenants on the type of construction they would like to see in their neighborhood. So we're, like I said, we're still working on it. I think another week we should be fine with that. Any feedback from the board is always necessary and take into accommodation.
Rebecca?
Yeah, so I just want to bring up our timeline and kind of this thing where basically we're trying the whole it's like we need to know what residents want in order to inform the request that we're making. And it's necessary that we build this request in order to have a project. And it's like we want this information to inform the request. And like I personally, I'm like, I want to start writing this thing so we can start editing it and really looking into it and making like a really good request. So I'm
Well,
wondering.
I mean, if I'm understanding you clearly, because you guys are gonna have like a meeting in 2 weeks. I'm asking for a week. I think, within those 2 weeks, if I can attend that meeting as well and give you what we have and we can start going from there.
The
Yeah,
2
I'm
weeks
not
for the
saying.
5-year
Oh,
plan. The 2 weeks is for the 5-year plan. The
No, I
sur-
understand that. I was just saying, like, after that portion of the meeting, if you want to add me to the agenda, well, and I can submit that, you can.
What is, I don't have it in front of me. Can you give me the timeline we had for the survey?
Yeah.
Rebecca? What
Yeah,
was
so
that?
I brought the timeline up right here. And so basically we have like our developing our draft RFQ, RFP with the creating of the tenant survey. And
Mhm.
so basically it's like conducting one-on-one tenant workshops, and the survey and review the survey responses was supposed to be, in April.
Okay.
It's like March to April. So we were
Mhm.
hoping that we would vote on it today and then, get it out and get those responses. And it's of course okay, like we can always work with it. And that's why we have a flexible timeline, right? It's not at all a problem. What I'm wondering is if, we want to start, while we're building the survey, really start building this RFQ, RFP, because I just don't want us to lag behind on this. I would love to be able to keep the development process moving at the same time so that when we're talking to residents and when we're giving out the survey, we can say, we can have this document that's like being created. I just don't want us to get too delayed because we need.
I think you can express that now to the residents that this document is being created and you're looking for their feedback.
Can I just ask also, I mean, I missed the previous week's meeting, but in the previous week's meeting, I believe we kind of concluded that the survey should really be pretty focused on just on really like defining the project rather than going into details about like features of the like more defined, more detailed features, like basically just trying to really give the two options. That's what I remember.
So Tiffany, we submitted the survey last week. Are you saying that there's changes that you guys want to make to that from what we had?
Yeah, that was our draft. Like HCHC was supposed to take that draft and make it into the like final product for us,
Right.
because that was just like we weren't done with it. That was just us in our workshop. That's what I remembered from this.
So you're asking me, did we take it and change it, or you want it to be the same and just have us distribute it the way it was sent to us as a draft? So I
No,
can be
like
clear.
you to use it very well with every single dollar we spent. But what I'm asking you is there changes that you guys have made since we sent them? Has there been a lot of changes that you guys have came up with? Obviously, we know that you're paying you guys, and you guys are going to make it sound good and look good. I know that part. What I'm asking you has there been a lot of changes made since we submitted it last week? Is this why you're saying it's going to be more time because you feel like you guys can get deeper into it and more detailed than what we are given? That's what I'm asking.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Marie?
I just wanted to say that in terms of developing the RFQ, RFP, I think that if you look at the timeline and just simply because of the application problem, it's not visually available, but really the development of the RFQ, RFP follows all along with the outreach aspect to it. So
I
we're
think
always doing both at the same time.
I feel like there was a little bit of a misunderstanding around like what the draft was. I think that I know myself, I took myself out of this process because I didn't want the conflict. But what with talking with the HCHC board, it wasn't clear that this draft was like finalized. Like this is all of the information that HHA wanted to be just put into a format to be sent out. It sounded like in between the lines, it sounded like you were asking for our opinion on what HHA came up with
Mhm.
and
To make
asking
edits and
us
changes.
to amend it and then send it back. So that I think there was just some miscommunication.
Okay. It sounds like, I mean, the last time I saw the survey, it looked pretty good to me because and I felt like it did a good job of balancing, like really getting to the heart of what we need to know in order to move forward development wise.
Well, let
Awesome.
me
So
ask you this. I remember one of the questions on the survey that you all created was asking about key work housing, key worker housing. Am I
Can we
saying
pull
that
the
correctly?
survey up and just share it so that we are, is that possible?
does anybody have it on their right there in their email that they can share their screen?
I have whatever is.
I'm unable to share my screen.
I'm sharing the second draft that we created.
Yes, please.
Can I just make a quick comment? I think
Sure.
where there was a lot of work that needed to get done was right at the end there. It was really messy at the end of that survey, I remember. There was stuff that needed to get hammered out, and it's not a complete survey. It definitely isn't. But the general direction, I think, was what we agreed on last week. It was HCHC, making sure that it was made sense, that there weren't words on there that didn't make sense, that it was, you know, a professional looking survey and that it was ready for prime time, basically, I think is what we wanted HCHC to do. That was the impression I got. But there was work to be done on it. And we left it kind of up to HCHC to see what they thought needed to be added, taken away.
Does the rest of the board agree that like I guess we should address where the miscommunication was. I'm curious what everybody thought the survey intentions were so that as Tiff moves forward, she can do what the board needs done.
So
From my understanding, it was to make edits and changes in the document, and now I'm hearing you want it as is. So
No,
yeah, Let's get some
That-
clarification.
That wasn't my understanding, and I emailed everyone a week ago. Everyone here was included on this email and basically said, you know, this is what we created in the meeting all together and it's ready for edits. And so my understanding was that, you know, HCHC, you know, Tiffany, you know, you would look at the questions and you'd say, you know, this is great. This doesn't work. We need different wording here. We need this. This doesn't make sense, whatever it might be. But that was my understanding, that it would become this like kind of collaborative process.
That was my understanding as well. And
Yeah,
that's
we
what
didn't give
started
you
to
enough
do.
information at first. That was the issue. We didn't give enough information and it was a very scattered survey. It didn't make sense. And so we went over it publicly, figuring it out all together. Tiffany, you were there. We were all here. We were working on it. We were all present doing this thing together. And so then we had the second draft survey. And so I sent it over to everyone, HCHC, HHA included, and said, here we go, ready for edits. Can we finalize it by this date? It's okay that it didn't happen, but I don't know what happened.
But when I saw what Tiff had done so far, that's exactly what happened. So like some of the things that got taken out were about the types of housing people want, because we're not that far. Instead, the question should say, how many bedrooms would you desire to have, or do you need, does your family need? So that was one of the edits. The other thing that we took out was about the murals, because I like, again, like that's something that can be a later conversation. We don't want to throw too many dreams out there that get thrown into the facts of what the initial project is. So I saw that edit, and it was just wording things. It wasn't like there's no new questions. There's more spaces for tenants to elaborate. Like if you don't agree with the way things are right now, why? And then a couple lines to write something, little things like that.
I feel like that's what we needed. You know, we just needed like HCHC to make this survey what it needs to be so that residents really understand what we're asking them and this is what you're doing. So can we maybe set up like a timeline? Like, can we have this survey by next week, Wednesday?
Yeah.
And so the other thing that I just want to
I
add in
said
here,
one week. So it's like you guys and I said that 1 week.
no, it's fine. There's no issue. I think it's just all that I think we just want this process to just like keep moving forward in this way. And one of the things about discussing like the types of housing too, I think it makes a lot of sense to leave that out, and it makes a lot of sense that you did that because those are actually the sorts of things that developers will be telling us, like, we want to do this, we want to do that, you know. And so I think that if we can say we're going to have this survey in a week, then maybe we can also say, I would love to be able to say this, that we can start working on our first draft of this request, you know, over the course of this week as well, because a lot of the questions that we're asking will inform it, but a lot of those answers we'll find once we have developers at the table, you know?
Yeah.
So I just want to say that too.
Thank you, Tiff.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see the final project. It took us a long time to get that down, and I really want to see how it comes out. Okay, so I think pretty much we talked about the survey. We talked about, well, we were able to talk about the survey and the fact sheet, I feel like, all at once. Does everybody agree with me on that?
Yeah. The fact sheet?
Is that the flyer?
flyer? Okay. Yeah, I have to make a change on the flyer because the link that I used for the QR code is just the subcommittee link. And I found out that we're just going to keep using the same link every week. So I have to get the right link as the QR code.
Okay.
So we'll have to reprint them. Maybe we could just put them in the hallways this time, Tim. I don't know.
Yep, absolutely. Just send over it, the revised, and we'll get it out as soon as possible.
Okay.
Okay. I know some people, I know we were able to talk a little bit about tenant outreach. I know Rebecca had a couple questions about it, and basically Claire had let her know that this is why the board has to figure out how we can possibly do this by getting out to the tenants.
Well, that's also the partnership that, like in the contract with HCHC, that's kind of where our capacity is going to come in. We'll obviously want to work with some of the board members. Like it'd be great to have you guys there, but I think that that's where we're more comfortable. We know that we'll be more effective in that. We're not professional survey creators, but you know, I don't see any snags when it comes to getting on the ground, knocking on doors, getting people to show up. So,
And are we still talking about doing the one-on-one, like?
yes, I can't make a schedule for that until we have the survey because I want to do them at the same time. So I want to have 3 different meeting times available for folks. I want there to be, you can either sign up for a face-to-face appointment. We'll have a Zoom call by floor so that everybody on the floor can get on at the same time if they want to. And that one will be us basically presenting to the floors. After, we also still have to create the shared language for the board, what we're going to talk about and how we're going to talk about it. And then the last one was the if you wanted a one-on-one Zoom call because you don't want to meet in person. But that would be we want them to turn into working meetings. So we want to talk to people, but we want to have time to work on the survey with them so that we can do them and collect the surveys as we're reaching out to people instead of asking them a million times to sit down with us and do these different tasks. So when we have the survey, we can create a schedule.
That makes sense.
Rebecca, does that answer your question?
Yep,
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
I'm
but-
curious, does anyone think that it would be helpful for us to just kind of like tentatively set a time to be in the community room so that we'll like on a weekend, like I'm happy to do it a Saturday or Sunday, just to kind of like start being.
I mean, but if we asked for the survey by Wednesday, then if we set the first meeting for next weekend, we would have the surveys available. So it would just be the start date. So I mean, if we get the survey Wednesday and we all talk to each other Wednesday and it sounds like it's a go, I mean, I can have a schedule for the next meeting for us to look at and see how everybody wants to fill it in.
That sounds great.
Can I just also add to this issue of the community room? Tim, we were talking about making the community room available for these meetings and subsequent meetings, setting up chairs. Is that still something that we can talk about doing? Because is the community room still technically closed?
I think we're prepared to officially open it permanently April 1st. I think the state is allowing for gatherings, I think in April, starting April. So we'll follow suit with that as well.
So before, and I take it the cable box then, there's no cable box in there right now, but it'll be replaced, correct? Or
Yeah,
is there a
we'll
cable
reestablish
box
that.
in there? Okay,
The box is
So
still
can
there.
we
We'll
start-
just reestablish the cable.
so we can actually start showing our weekly Zoom meetings on that TV, right? Starting after April.
I have Shaheen come
Okay.
down and take a look at it. He'll set it up.
Okay.
Okay. Any more questions on the survey, the fact sheet, and outreach, anything like that?
I was asking earlier on the survey that you all sent and the changes I had made to it. What is a key housing worker? That's what you guys wrote down, key.
I think it was originally workforce housing, but
What it said on the document was key
Key worker.
worker.
It's kind of an English term, I think, but it generally tends to refer to uh people who work in as nurses, as teachers, people who are in civil service posts, primary workforce, I believe is what generally a key worker is.
But we said we were gonna take that question out completely about what
Yeah,
type.
that's
Right.
why I just want to make sure with the board because like I said,
That's
when
fine.
I asked the question, the chair said, they're expecting us to fix it up, but leave the questions the way they had it. And I know that was one of the first questions that we took out, and that's what I was discussing when I first brought it up to the board about the changes, the minor changes that were made thus far, but that particular one was that first question. It just didn't make sense to me, so we took it all out. Asking, would you rather see senior housing and key worker housing? And it was like, what are you really asking? Because that's not what Bliss Towers is going to convert to. So it was just, so that's why I'm asking, what is that? A key worker. But thank you for the definition, Marie. But I suggest I'm gonna remove that if you guys feel like it should stay. Email me, but I'm gonna take that out just so
Seem
you know
like
ahead of time.
we're all good for that question to be removed.
Yeah, I thought, like Claire said, I thought it was removed. I don't.
Yeah, I just want to be clear before I continue. So when Wednesday comes and it's
Is
emailed back.
I remember HCHC had Avon Leah, who was like the survey expert.
Yeah, that's why I said, we're waiting on the feedback from our
Okay.
experts. That's why I said just 1 week.
Okay, cool.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
perfect.
okay, thanks.
Okie dokie.
Okay. So now we're gonna do number 7, which is an update on the development subcommittee. I think what we have decided was every other week, we will be switching up these meetings with the subcommittee, development subcommittee, and the tenants relations committee as well. So this coming Wednesday would be the development subcommittee, and then following that would be the tenant relations subcommittee.
So I'm gonna make a suggestion because of the survey and the tenant outreach. Can we
Okay.
do the tenant relations subcommittee next week, the policy meeting the week after that, and then start the cycle, development meeting, tenant relations, does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I am.
Works for me.
Okay.
Works for me.
So Rebecca, is there any update you would like to do on that? I know we haven't had a meeting in 2 weeks, and I feel like really the only update we would give is on the survey, which we did. But is there anything else you would like to add in there?
Yeah, I did get a chance to quickly just update Darren Scott on where we were at. And he did say that like when we're building our request, it's important to like keep all of the elements in there to see what a developer is going to end up saying. Like basically to have all the puzzle pieces there, but have the developer basically decide and present us the project, right? So hopefully we would have different projects that would be presented. That was just one thing, but I had mentioned it earlier too.
I would, so I talked with Peter Bougeneau today and discovered the interesting news that he is very experienced at writing RFQs. And I have a feeling he'd be, if we just want, like if we need any sort of, I don't know, advice or just to look it over or just, if there's some kind of like wisdom that he could offer, I'm sure he'd be willing to.
That would be amazing. That would be great because I feel like the more eyes we have on it, the better. And then the other thing that I totally forgot about was that I did attend the HCDPA meeting on Tuesday. It was right. And I did mention, the HCDPA does own land on State Street and Front Street, and I did mention the possibility to have that land included in our request. So hopefully we'll hear back from them because I just wanted to throw that out there as well.
That's fantastic.
I guess just to add, in the past, there had actually been a relationship between the HHA and the HCDPA. And this was, I don't know, Tim, if you would it was, I guess, 2018 that this was happening. There was the possibility of that like prior request that had occurred for that land to be a part of it.
It's actually part of the DRI proposal that and is included in the Strategic Housing Action Plan as part of the
Okay,
DRI.
that's what-
So yeah, so sorry, I'm a little bit spaced out from all the Zooming. So yeah, so we conversed in HCDPA about basically just going back through the minutes to really identify like how was that evolved and what was the proposal about and who was, or just what did it look like, and so that we could assess how it could potentially still have some life in it as a proposal.
So I guess that would be the big development update. And, we could go over the timeline again, but I think it depends on what everyone wants to do.
What's our date again of when we want to have an RFP, RFQ actually complete? I just want to
Well,
put that back in my mind.
yeah, so we were hoping, to have a draft by our monthly April meeting and a draft, right?
No, I think that we were not at draft yet in April. Look at,
Oh, okay. Okay,
yeah,
no, you're right. You're right. We pushed it back. So it would be
Yeah.
the draft presented at the May meeting, and then there would be a public comment period in June, 2 public comment periods in June, and then presenting the draft to the planning board, presenting the draft to the common council, and then in July we would hopefully finalize that draft, and in August submit it.
I wonder if part of like part of the sort of shared language that we need as a board is to ever, even just in a really bare bones kind of way, just describe the RFP process and how important it is to like what ends up happening, because I don't know. I know that I didn't know what an RFP was a short time ago, and I found it really fascinating like what a just what it like, how important it is to determining like who's gonna, what's gonna get built in the end. So I don't know. I'm just thinking about that.
I just want to quickly say that I think it's important because to recognize that all the outreach that we've been talking about, this is not something that just is going to happen and then we move on. It is literally going to be built into every single step that we take along the way. So it's just that the survey is one aspect to it, but we're going to probably have to do another survey at some point. This may not be the only survey we do. It's certainly not going to be the only we do. So I just want to make sure everybody that we all recognize that this is all going to be happening together. That it's not separate projects, the RFQ, RFP, and the tenant outreach. They're the same. Does that? Yeah. I mean, it's probably obvious, but I just.
That's good to know for me.
yeah, they lend to each other and inform each other, right? It's so I feel like that's our development update.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, everyone. Now we will get an update from Tim on our offline apartments.
Thank you, Ravonda. I sent the board a vacant unit status update, and I'll continue to do that weekly so everybody is apprised of the status of all the units. Did everyone see the email that I sent out earlier today?
Mhm.
So there are 6 vacant units that tenants have vacated recently. They've moved, or in some cases, the resident has passed on. And we're working on, our in-house staff is working on turning those over, doing vacant unit prep work to get those reestablished. Out of the 6, 2 have already been rehabilitated and leased. And there are 3 others that we anticipate leasing on 4/1. Then there's the 6 of the 25 offline units that we focused on. Thankfully, we have secured an asbestos contractor who will be on site tomorrow to start that work in those 6 units. And we also have the regular contractor, Rodney Waite company, coming in Friday, right behind the asbestos contractors to start completing their part of the work. So we'll be very active this month, completing those 6 offline units as well.
That's great.
Yeah, it's really good news. Really good news.
And I'd love to do a tour with the board so they could see the apartments afterwards, because they really do come out exceptional. They do a lot of good work. So
I would love to see that. I'm looking forward to that.
Yep.
So, you know what I was wondering, Tim, now, where would that put our waiting list after, the apartments that you're able to rehab and get people in? Where would that then put our waiting list? You might not have it available now. But maybe if you can let us know on next week's meeting where that would put our waiting list at.
absolutely, yep. I'll have that information for you. I could actually even email it out to you tomorrow.
Okay. Is there any other questions that anyone has for Tim about the offline units? All right,
Yeah,
moving
I
on.
do. I
Oh.
do.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the offline units, particularly the ones where the ceilings caved in, has that been fully prepared, for the new tenants? And have you all looked at the other apartments just to make sure there isn't any damage before their ceilings cave in? Hopefully not, but just to be precautious.
Now,
Yeah,
Tim,
Tiffany, so the asbestos contractor,
yeah, go ahead, Tim. Sorry, go ahead.
oh, that's okay. Yeah, so the asbestos contractor, Tiffany, they'll be cutting out and re-sheetrocking those sections of the ceiling that have extensive water damage and that are starting to cave in. So those will all be cut out and re-sheetrocked and repainted.
So when you say it's going to be re-sheetrocked and all of that, is that considered a patch job because you're waiting
Yeah,
to replace the roof? Or you already have
Yes.
that in the works? Okay.
Yep.
And that's my only question I have pertaining to the vacant apartments for now.
The waiting to repair the roof part. I'm sorry, I must be way behind on that. I thought the roof was repaired. Is that not the case?
It's always been patch jobs. Since I was a resident, it's always been patch jobs. That's why now the ceilings are caving in.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. We, over the summer and the late fall, we went up and tried to repatch everything the best we could. We hit a lot of problem areas, but one of the major problems we had over the fall was one of the primary roof drain pipes had clogged at the bottom, and that was causing a lot of the water problems that we had. So we finally identified that. We unclogged it. It had about 4 foot of silt that had hardened in the roof drain that we had to dig out. Now the drain works fine. And then, of course, we did some additional patchwork. So the roof is pretty good at this point, but it really does need to be replaced.
Oh, wow. So I know the elevator comes up all the time, but I have never heard the roof. And that's very interesting. I can't, it's
That's why they have
us,
garbage cans on the 9th floor. It could be
for
like
us.
a mist in the air, and they have to have put garbage cans on the 9th floor because the roof immediately starts leaking from the ceilings by the elevators.
And
Um,
can I just say,
sure, Marie, go ahead.
I just want to say that the roof, the full repair, in other words, the new roof scenario was originally part of the FHA loan that we had talked about, if I recall correctly, Tim. So so until we make a decision about what we would what we're going to be doing as far as the development is concerned, doing a full roof repair at this stage doesn't make any sense. We really need to decide how to move forward before we make that decision. But a full roof repair has actually definitely been on the table, but it was specific to that FHA loan, if that makes sense.
I don't remember the roof being in the FHA, but I could be wrong. I do remember the elevators and the offline units. This roof is seeming something new to me, and it's kind of seeming a little weird that we will be patching up a leaking roof and moving people and wanting to fix the elevator.
That's because for some time the roof was only affecting people from the 9th floor, and I used to live on the 9th floor when I first moved into Bliss Towers. Then I moved to the 7th floor a few years later, and the effects of the roof started trickling down to the 7th floor. And it's only started working on certain apartments, so to speak. And because of at the time, particularly at the time, with different executive directors in place, there was a fear. People just dealt with it. No one really reported it. Some people like myself took pictures of it and spread it around, but some people just dealt with it. Now it's coming about, and now the effects of it is also coming about with ceilings caving in. But it has been, for a long time. So the effects is now it's basically going throughout the building, the water damage in the walls.
Okay. And this is why I'm going to bring up the survey again, and it's so important because a roof leaking in the caved ceilings, and it's also happening in Columbia Apartments, which thank goodness we decided to do that over. And then the elevator, and then the infestation. I can't wait for people to really say, we don't want this gutted. It's got to go. How much would it be to repair the roof, Tim?
250,000.
So $250,000 for the roof and $500,000 for the elevator. I'm just gonna give a big smile on that.
And that's
Lot of
another
money.
thing with the elevators, that's always been a patch job as well.
Rory.
Yeah, may I just say something about that elevator? Because I think that that's exactly the question that I have for that we need to discuss, because I think that patch job has been going on for a long time. And the question is, at this point, what is Otis's position on maintaining those elevators going into the future? Because we're in a bit of a conundrum here as a board. You know, if we decide to do a rebuild of Bliss, then doing a complete retrofit for $500,000 of the elevators seems a pretty expensive endeavor for a building that we've decided to rebuild. The question is, can we keep those elevators in play for the next few years? What's the assessment, Tim?
Yeah, well, just to give the board a little context, about 12 years ago, Albany Elevator, who had the contract to maintain the elevators, wrote the Housing Authority on 3 different occasions stating that the elevators needed to be replaced. They were outdated. They are outdated. They're an antiquated system. For whatever reason, they were never replaced. And that was one of the primary reasons Albany Elevator dropped the contract. And then we got Otis Elevator involved, and they took on the responsibility of the elevator with under the premise that we would make a significant upgrade within the very near future. And of course, they provided us with a proposal. It was about $470,000 to do a significant upgrade. So knowing our position with the loan, we weren't quite sure what we wanted to do. I reached out to Otis again. As a matter of fact, they're going to be on site next week. They're going to look again at the elevator and see if they can pare down the modernization of it to just doing the important mechanicals. That would include the circuitry board and the door mechanicals, which seem to be the most important parts of the elevator that are failing and that are outdated. The major components, the motors and the cables are in good shape, and they were going to preserve those anyways. So as soon as they come in, they give me a second estimate. I'll forward that to the board so we can see if that's more affordable for us, and it buys us some time until we decide what we want to do.
Okay. I think that's the update we got on Bliss Towers elevators as well. So we just banged them both out at once.
And just, you know, I don't want to get too much into it, but just again, to give the board some more context of the condition of the building and what we're faced with. And this has contributed a lot to the water infiltration that's occurring in the building. The roof obviously needs to be replaced. It's outlived its useful life. And the parapet that goes around the perimeter of the top of the building is spalling. That means chunks of cement are actually falling off of the face of the building, exposing rebar, which causes infiltration. You know, Tiffany knows this better than anybody, that the windows are outdated. They're failing. The blue panels underneath have shrunk. All the you know, caulking around it has shrunk, causing water infiltration. Those windows are old. They need to be replaced. The skin of the building, that really rough part of the building, it was a cheap material that they used when they constructed it, and it's highly porous and absorbs water into the building. And that has a lot of problems. And I recall looking at documentation, I think it was about 15 years ago, they actually sealed that with a sealer, but it only had a shelf life of 10 years. So that's, something that needs to be addressed. Um, so those are some of the challenges that the building faces that we'll probably need to take into consideration when deciding what you want to do with the building.
Yeah, I can attest to those windows. That's what baffles me about one building that is public housing in the city of Hudson that has been neglected for years. And from my understanding, with New York State and particularly in New York City, housing, all of their windows were changed in the 80s. It went from that plastic material that Bliss Towers has now to a more sturdy metal material. So I can't even tell you how many people have sliced their fingers on the window frames of Bliss Towers, particularly in the wintertime when it's cold and it's very hard to open. It's unfortunate for the residents of the building. So there's a lot of things to consider. Regutting the building is the possibility, but it's like it's like a good tooth that needs a filling, right? You don't want to rip that tooth out because it can be saved. And that's how I look at Bliss Towers. It can be saved, but you just got to get that good dentist to get all that rotten stuff out and fill it in with a good filling and keep
Yep.
that tooth nice and sturdy.
Yep.
That's my my feeling for keeping the historic building of Bliss Towers, so to speak. I know it's public housing and people have their perception, but there's also a sentiment to that building and a personal, feeling with generations in that building with families and also with other public housing. One thing that I've been proud, to see with the board is changing the perception of public housing, particularly here in Hudson. We hear from different stories all over the news of what it is like, but here in Hudson, as unique as it is, we're different, and it shows. So we should continue to show that, and once the residents have that. Once the residents have that feeling of being at home and confident of being home, you'll see that outcome.
Yes, Rebecca.
I
Board.
just want to say that, these are all of the reasons why we're in this process that we're in now, right? And figuring out what it is that we're going to do and how we're going to move forward because we know the state of this building and this is our question, right? What we're going to do. So I just wanted to bring that back in.
Yeah, and for the Bliss Towers, as you know, I've been born and raised there. My grandmother was blessed to be a part of the Bliss Towers board when it was getting built. She died before it was done. I still have family that live there to this day that were one of the first residents to live in there. And I love the history of Bliss Towers as well. But I believe at this time, the history should be in books. The building is slowly but surely sinking into the ground and it's filled with asbestos. I think it's time to say sayonara and thank you for lasting as long as you did because you lasted longer than you should. And it's been a true blessing.
What the survey is about is getting getting a real conversation and getting all the information out to as many people about what the two options would really entail and what are some of the drawbacks of either one. I mean, it sounds like Tim is saying that one of the drawbacks of a gut renovation is that the whole exterior of the building is actually really problematic, and so it really sounds like it would actually maybe be a little bit more like some kind of strange like gut and then skin replacement.
Yep. Yep.
So it would be like not really, I mean, it sounds like, there's a lot of real problems with that. So,
And I just want to throw in that, like, in tandem with the survey, we're also building this request, right? And like, we're going to have these options as well in our request. So it's like we're just uncovering and we're still figuring out what it is that's going to happen.
Right. And I think we also have to be mindful of our opinions. I mean, we all have very strong ones, but as we're handing out a survey with two options on it, that's why I really want to have a shared language document for board members and HCHC staff that are going to meet one-on-one with residents, because I don't want there to be any swaying or for residents to feel like we're pushing one way or the other. Because I mean, we all stand where we stand, but it has to be fair and only the facts given. And I mean, even if we figured out a presentation on what a full rebuild would look like, what the timeline could be, like we've put a lot of time into the development of a new property and not as much time into what a rebuild would look like. And the building is in deplorable condition. It's not safe. Even if we were to rebuild, like we just have to be able to give all the facts, and try hard to keep our opinions at a minimum.
yeah, I really agree with that. Yeah.
Does anyone else have anything to add?
I do not.
Can I just ask,
Okay.
so I understand, so our next meeting is is our next meeting a specific purpose meeting?
The
I mean,
tenant relations.
which one is it? That's what I'm,
Tenant relations next Wednesday.
tenant
And
really,
we'll look at the final draft of the survey
great, okay,
and sign up for meeting times.
awesome.
I'm sorry, everyone. I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Okay. So now we can move on to number 10, which is discussion of cycle painting. In our lease, it states that every 5 years, the tenants can get their home painted. Tim started working on about 40 apartments before COVID started, and then they came to a stop. And now they're getting ready to pick that up again.
Yeah, so Ravonda expressed some interest in getting the cycle painting program restarted. So we've done that. I sent the board the tentative list of the next 20 apartments that we would be doing cycle painting. We have all the different units, including the low-rise units that are on that schedule. We've confirmed with most of the residents, they're okay with us going in and starting that process. I made contact with the contractor that did the prior cycle painting. They would be tentatively available between March 26th and April 1st to start the process back up again. So that's where we're at.
Tim, the painters that you use, where do they fall in terms of the whole like local minority-owned business prioritizing that we do?
Yes, we have a contractor. They're not a minority-owned business that I'm aware of, but they do hire Section 3 employees, and their crew and their staff are all from different ethnic backgrounds and Section 3 hires.
That sounds good. I know the section 3, is that in our code that's part of what we ask for, or is that just?
It is it's in the RFP that initially went out to hire, that they would have to participate in section 3 and hire, if necessary, section 3 employees. And of course, they've already had that already.
Great.
Met that requirement already. And they did a really good job the last time. There were actually no complaints in all the units they went in. They did a super job with everyone. So we're continuing on with them.
Great.
Okay. Is everyone okay to move on? Does anybody have any questions about this 5-year cycle painting plan? Okay. Moving on to number 11, addressing resident commissioners' concerns about security in the stairwell. Yeah. I don't know if Robert's still on, is he? No. I know that Robert has brought up over and over again about the traffic in the stairwell. And I just happened to be working one night and I decided I was going to take the stairwell at the fireman's home, and I realized I needed my key badge to get that open. And I know that we need a key badge to get into Bliss Towers. So I was talking to Tim about maybe doing this for the stairwells. Then you won't have people that don't live there inside of the stairwells. You would only be able to get in and out if you have that key.
Do we have one of those for the laundry room already too? Or is it an actual key for the laundry room?
No, it's a key fob, Claire, just like the front door.
Okay, so would it be cheaper to, instead of having somebody have to like scramble 3 different key fobs, like to make them on the same system? And
I think we could.
fobs?
I think we could do that. Yeah.
Yeah, you should absolutely be able to do that, because my badge can go anywhere, laundry room, anywhere with just one badge. So I'm thinking you guys have that same kind of pad. It looks identical. I'm thinking we can do the same thing.
Really great solution. I mean, is there any reason? I remember before I was on this board, I remember hearing some kinds of complaints about having it locked, but I don't know if that was the stairwell. I mean, but I don't know if that was a different situation where it was locked and nobody could get in, like nobody had a key to the stairwell.
Right. It was locked and no one can use it at all.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Do we need to do a motion for that, or can we just do that?
You might as well make a motion.
Motion.
Let's make a motion.
All right.
I make a motion.
I'm making a motion. I'll second the motion. What's the motion?
I don't know.
The motion is we're gonna put key
to
fobs
redis-
on the.
distribute key fobs so that folks have access to the stairs.
Sounds
I second that motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ravonda,
Yeah, I did say aye.
gotta get the, anyone opposed?
Oh, anyone opposed? Sorry. Okay, so the motion has passed. Beautiful. Moving on to number 12. Discussion of the 24-hour maintenance contract opportunity. Now, I was explaining to Tim when the ceilings caved in Columbia Apartments at 2 o'clock in the morning, they weren't able to get in touch with anybody. They didn't hear from maintenance until 8 in the morning, but I was luckily able to contact Tim about 6:30 in the morning, which is a bit crazy. And I thank Tim for even answering my phone call, because I don't know if I would have did it for him.
I'll always answer your phone call.
So I was able to get some information from my landlord, who uses a 24/7 phone service. What it is you can call a number after hours. So theirs starts after 4, and it would be the same for the housing authority. They close at 4. An answering service answers, takes your name, takes your address, lets you know they will be reaching out to maintenance, and someone will get in contact with you. And within the next 15 to 30 minutes, a maintenance guy closest to your home gets back to you. I've used them twice due to me having an automatic door that automatically locks. And when I first moved in there, I locked my keys inside 2 times. So I do have their information that was shared with me, that I can give you, Tim. And I'm hoping as a board, we can decide on using this service, because it is so important to be able to reach out to the maintenance crew at any given time. Anything can happen.
Yep. You want to email that to me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And then I'll follow up on it.
Marie?
Do we know what the costs are? Is it per emergency call?
I don't. That's why I figured maybe I give Tim the information,
Okay,
and
fine.
he figure all that out.
Yep, I'll look into it.
Okay, so that was all I had on that. If there's any questions or any more comments on that. Okay, so Tim, what I had learned was you obviously will have to have a maintenance meeting, because they would have to decide who would be the guy on which night and which day and which time.
Right. Yep. Yep.
All right. So now we are moving on to number 13, report of resident commissioner. I believe that's by Robert. Is that?
He's back on.
Is that report
I'm
done?
back.
Hi, Robert.
Hello, how are you?
Wonderful.
Well, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but like I said before, people are complaining about the kids in the stairway.
We
made
just
it-
a conversation about the stairs.
You missed it.
Okay,
You missed
I, right. I had to take another call, but just to reiterate to what I'm told, the maintenance men, they're spending time cleaning stairways, pizza boxes, soda containers, chip bags. They're having their little fiestas in our stairway. I have 2 tenants came to me yesterday, one from the 3rd floor and one from the 4th floor, complaining about the smell of marijuana coming out of the stairway.
We're gonna lock
And
it
she said-
and redistribute key fobs to tenants so that only tenants have access to the stairwells.
The stairwells doesn't use key fob.
We're gonna order that program so that it's just like the laundry room, and we're gonna redistribute key fobs that work for the stairs, the front door, and the laundry room. That's the solution we
Well-
just came up with.
Okay, that sounds great. They should also try to fix that other laundry room with a key fob, because same kids, they're in the laundry room, sitting in the shopping carts of the laundry room. They're using them as race cars. I mean,
So
that's
the key
just what's
fob
going
doesn't
on.
work the laundry room, Robert?
No, the door is broken, actually.
Oh,
The
okay.
door is
Well,
broken. So that has to be fixed. I don't know why it hasn't been. They attempted to fix it last year or the year before. For some reason, that stopped. So,
Well, maybe when they go set up the system, that's something that can be taken care of. Make sure that all the doors are secured and that everybody's key is the only port of entry to those spaces. And hopefully that alleviates the problem of kids and not tenants in those spaces.
sounds good. Sounds good. Other than that, that's really it. I mean, the place is pretty good. Other than that, no one else has no real other issues that I know of, other than that the one I just spoke on.
thank you for that update, Robert.
No problem.
Okay, is there any more questions or concerns? Any comments from anyone? Do we have anyone in the public that would like to speak?
Hey, Ravonda. I mean, not sorry, Tim.
Yes,
Hello. I got a
Yeah.
question for you. Why we can't get another maintenance guy since Marshall left?
I'm not sure we need one, Robert.
You're not sure we need one. Right now, we're working with two maintenance men. For whatever
Well,
reasons, other guys are off, or whatever the case may be. Right now, we're down to a part time and a full time. When the part time leaves, we got one full time guy here.
I understand that. I understand that. When we have a full staff, there's adequate maintenance for the building. When there's full, obviously, the maintenance supervisor is having some health issues. We have another maintenance guy who's dealing with a family health issue that's
Right.
taking them away from it. And it is creating some shortages, but we do fill in with manpower services during those absences, so there's adequate help. But we can certainly talk about that more, offline if you decide, if you want to discuss that more. But I think with the staff that we have, it's adequate.
Okay.
I see Aaliyah has her hand up. Aaliyah, would you like to speak?
Hi, yeah, I had a few questions just from things from throughout the meeting. My first question was for Tim. Sorry, I'm just trying to find this here. Is there an expected completion date for the 6 apartments in Bliss?
What 6 are you referring to? The 6 vacant or the 6 offline?
The offline.
Well, if we are trying to move as quickly as possible, I hate to put a deadline on anything, because if it doesn't work out, then I'm at the mercy of the contractors fulfilling their obligations. I'd like to think, Aaliyah, that we would have those completed by the end of the month. It'll be a tight schedule, but they seem to be moving along pretty quickly. I'd like to ideally have them done by the end of the month. We'll see where it goes, but I can't guarantee that.
And then I was a little late to the meeting, so I came in right around when Marie was announcing that she was resigning. So I was just wondering if there was discussion in the beginning as to why Marie decided to resign, and if so, I can just go back and watch it. But if not, I was curious.
I'll answer the question. I felt that it was a bit overwhelming doing the chairing and working on the development, and I felt that Ravonda would make an excellent chair. So, and I feel that we must always refresh leadership always. So that's why I made the decision.
Thank you. And so you're going to continue on the development stuff?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna continue on the board. Yep,
Okay, thank you so much.
you're welcome.
Does anyone else in the public want to say anything? Tom?
Excuse me, yes. I want you all to know that next Tuesday at the formal meeting of the Common Council, there'll be a presentation by a developer. And this could be really significant news for all of you because it could play into your future plans. There's a developer interested in creating affordable housing at the former JLE. And the plan is, believe it or not, all affordable, no mixed, and that they're not interested in a pilot. All they're going to ask the council for is the ability to add a floor or two so that they can have the density that makes it that they don't have to ask for a pilot. So, you know, I can remember the Housing Coalition. You know, if you'd like to come out and support that, or at least listen to it and decide if you want to support it, that would be great. Next Tuesday at 7 o'clock. I mean, because if it
Thank you
doesn't,
for that information.
sure.
Any other questions or comments from anyone? Linda, I see you peeking around there. Okay.
And a quick other question, sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
What year was Bliss Towers built?
1973.
Okay, thanks.
Kaya?
Hi there.
Hi.
Got a question about the key fob system that you were talking about for the stairwells.
Mhm.
One of the issues with that stairwell is that people who live here it's their company. It's not like they just go in, you know, someone lets them in. So I know, you know, I've been a part of the building since pretty much it was built. My mother moved in that building when she was 5 months pregnant with me in 1974. So I know when the fob system first came, we couldn't get a fob until you was 13 years old. And then if you misused it, then your parents were the only ones that could have the key. So if we could stipulate that, I think that might help it a little bit better.
I think that's appropriate. I think we should only think about giving it to a young person if the parent even identifies that one of their older kids needs one. I don't even think that should be on the table unless the tenant themselves brings it up as a need or a want. And I don't think that it should be distributed to anybody under 13 either. I agree.
Okay. That's all.
Anyone else? Well, this has been a beautiful meeting, everyone. Can we get a motion to adjourn, please?
I make a motion.
I'll second it.
Third,
Have a blessed night, guys.
Tukaya.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good night.
Have a good night,
night.
everyone.